To celebrate the upcoming premiere of Survivor 50 on February 25th, we're looking back at 10 unforgettable episodes of Survivor featuring players that are going to be in 50. Tonight, we're going back to the edge of extinction, everybody's favorite twist, to feature Rick Devens, who got his way back into the game from the edge and did what he does, quickly finds an idol and then shocks everybody at Tribal Council. That's why Devens is back for Survivor 50.
Let's change the ring!
So, dear listeners, I am very proud and excited to introduce for the first time a Survivor contestant in the flesh. We've been doing this for over 6 years, and we finally got somebody on, someone who was brave enough to come and talk to Ryan, who we all know is more Randy Bailey than he is Sonia. So, in preparation for season 50, CBS is re-airing a select few episodes of Survivor in an effort to showcase the strength and talent of the season 50 cast. And as a part of that endeavor, we've been granted the opportunity to speak with one such component of that cast and their first season, and specifically the episode entitled Awkward from season 38, and it is episode 11. So without any further gilding of the lily, the Castaway Consultants are proud to introduce season 38 legend, season 50 contestant, On Fire podcast co-host, as well as many other monikers, Rick Devens. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for donating your time.
I'm excited to be here. I'm amped to talk some Survivor. And Ryan, if you give me a cookie, I'll eat it. I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to bring out that Ender Randy.
Rick, don't worry, I won't go Randy on you. There's plenty of contestants to go all Randy on. But after revisiting a little bit of Edge of Extinction, man, oh man, you brought so much fun and energy to that season. And that was something I really enjoyed, was that you made it fun. And it seemed like you were having fun. You know, you're starving out there, but just the energy you brought was just awesome.
So my first question for you, Rick, in your intro to season 38, and I know we're stepping back and it's so hard to not talk to you about 50, but stepping back, you're a super fan of the show, you find out you're a player, and then afterward, life goes on. So I'm mostly curious, so season 38, what's it like to try and hold those three feelings in one bucket, in one vessel, in the body that is Rick, where you're a super fan, you're a player, but now there's life afterward and it keeps going on. What's that like?
It's hard to let go is what it's like. I'm not ashamed to say that I've milked my season 38 appearance for everything it's worth. You know, I've really clinged on to Survivor and gotten so much joy out of it. And that's why I'm like, you got to bring me back. It's fading, which is fine by my wife, but I'm trying to cling on. So it was awesome, man. Just being out there as a super fan was wild. And one thing that you guys would probably find funny is I thought I was a super fan. You know, I sold myself as a super fan. I've never missed an episode, watched since episode 1. Get out there and realize, whoa, there's a whole nother world of Survivor I didn't know. They're like, Rob has a podcast. I'm like, Boston Rob does a podcast? No. So I can't name like all the seasons. I was really excited to be able to make that Randy reference because I don't have that many of them. But I love the show, but I'm not an encyclopedia like some of these folks. But it's still, when you get out there, especially season 50, and look around, you don't need to be a Survivor encyclopedia to know those people. So very exciting.
For our podcast specifically, the purpose of it is to help try to teach people how they can win the game, what strategies they can take, how they might be able to approach it based on their personal strengths. I'm curious, heading into, season 50, we don't want to talk about anything that goes on during the game, but just comparing it to how you prepared for season 38. How did your approach change knowing that you'd be going up against now returnees and having this first experience behind you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, physically, I prepared a lot more this time. Last time I was kind of overwhelmed. I had the kids that were much younger to like make sure they were taken care of, that things would be easy for my wife. So I didn't really do much training last time. This time I actually hired a trainer because that's the only way I'm going to get to the gym. I was swimming at like 5 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. So I did a lot more of that. I made a very strategic decision to not involve myself in pre-gaming. I knew there was going to be a lot of it for 50, and I just don't have the connections that these other people have. So I felt like for me, it was better to go in not connected to anybody than to have a few connections that could be used against me. I'm just like, I'm going to go the totally different way, which was glorious for my mental health leading up to it. And then the big thing, honestly, like 7 years of waiting to get back, a lot of pressure. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. Like, you have to go prove this. You have to go do this. You can't get out fourth this time. Show them you can go longer. And then out of nowhere, Survivor 50 casting made me an alternate. And all of a sudden, I thought I wasn't going to be able to go at all. And I was like, oh, man, I had all this pressure. I could have just gone out there and had a blast and, like, caused chaos and, like, tried to win, but, like, in the way that was most fun to me as possible. And then I ended up getting on the show, and it was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try to do some of that. So that was kind of my mindset heading into it. I felt a lot more prepared than I was on 38. But also, I felt on 38 being very unprepared was helpful in a lot of ways. So I was kind of nervous by the preparation that was going into 50.
Well, speaking of 38, like Josh said, our goal here is we're consultants for people who are trying to win for the first time. And so I'd like to ask you, as someone who actually knows what they're talking about and has been on the show, what advice would you give to someone who is about to ship out for their first season? People are going to be on 51. What do you tell them?
I would say it's great to have a plan, but don't tie yourself to a plan. You have to be ready to do things that you have no expectation that you're going to do. Rachel's a perfect example, right? She wasn't planning on using advantages and winning immunities, but you get out there and you just do what you got to do. Maybe this person I saw, especially 50, because we know the folks, I saw them, I feel like I know them, I do not want to play with them. That could change when your feet hit the sand. So my advice would just be loose, be adaptable, and never feel like you're out of the game, because at any moment it can totally flip.
And that actually leads into something that ever since I saw 38, and you should know that in a way, we started this podcast with season 39, and it was partly watching you have so much fun on 38, and 38 being such a non-conventional season format, such a non-conventional game. When you are working toward that adaptability, and you're working toward all of these things that can change on a dime, I've noticed, at least through screen, that some contestants have what I would call like an extra gear. Jeff might call it the ability to dig a little deeper. It's something that you seem to have in spades on 38. When everyone else seemed to be tired, you were getting up, running around, you're hiding fake idols, you're finding real idols, and really embodying Goonies never say die. So can you talk a little bit about that extra gear in so much as how maybe you see it in yourself, or if you even noticed it at the time? And then maybe as a fan, have you noticed that as well?
Well, first of all, I love the Goonies reference. I'll take that any day. I definitely think that there comes a time in the game where you're either exhausted or you're energized by the game. I also had body fat on a 39-day season, so that was helpful towards the end. But I do think that the game is what energizes you. I mean, for me, and you can kind of juxtapose it with other players, sometimes when the whole tribe's against you, it breaks you down, you're so lonely, you're out, and you just can't do that much. But I think a lot of times in Survivor, what you see is what you saw in me, which is everyone's against you, and that's your fuel. It's like, okay, you're going to be against me. That really frees me up to do what I want to do. And it's not just an energy, because I do think that's part of it, that the game itself is giving you that burst when everyone else is tired and everyone else is maybe trying to lay low or more comfortable. But it's also a fearlessness. Like you have to get to a point where you're not scared to make a move, because a lot of times you're sitting there going, oh, I want to do this might be good, but what if they get mad at me? What if I don't want to go home because I did something stupid I didn't have to do? And you just kind of have to get over that. And some people get over that and go home immediately because it doesn't work out. But I think to be a great player and to really get as much out of the game and have as much fun with the game as you can, you just can't be scared. You have to understand that a lot of great players have gone home looking stupid, and that might be your story. But if you're going to have a great story, you got to take that chance.
Do you think being on a season as unconventional as Edge of Extinction, when there's this new twist coming into the game, helps you get to that point? Do you think that you would have approached the season differently if you weren't just kind of working with your back up against the wall, or really trying to redeem yourself after coming back into the game?
Oh, 38 and the Edge of Extinction absolutely molded me into the player I am now. If you watch those episodes before I go out, I feel like very strong social game, got in a majority alliance, was the one talking to the people outside of that alliance that they felt they could approach, like a very non-Rick Devens game when you look back at it. And I just feel like I got kind of unlucky that we were able to get 3 people out in that group, and then we still had Wendy to get out, but we got swapped into just a small group, so all the safety nets went away, and I'm at the bottom and I went home. That's the way it works. But when I came back into the game, it was definitely that mindset of, I'd been sitting on the edge going, I blew it. My family's at home waiting on me, and I'm just sitting here napping on the beach because there's nothing else to do. So I wasn't going to waste an opportunity. I wasn't nearly as scared of the edge as a lot of people on my season were. I mean, there were some people who that was literally hell. They couldn't imagine spending time on the edge. I'm like, I know what the edge is. Chris will be there for me. Aubrey will be there for me. Reem has already laid into me. I don't have to worry about Reem anymore. So I absolutely feel like my opportunity to come back into the game after experiencing disappointment, going home 4th, which again, if not for the Edge of Extinction, footnote in Survivor history. Even you guys would be like, do we want our first Survivor to be the guy who went home 4th? I don't know. So I'm very grateful that I had the edge that shaped that perspective and turned me into, I think, a much more aggressive player.
Hey, we'll take any Survivor contestant pretty much. It doesn't matter. Everyone's got a story.
I was going to say, to be clear, Francesca being a double first boot, or Zane Knight, legendary vote me out first player. These are people that we reference on the podcast, the super fans, all the time. And the fact that you even brought up Reem, I want you to know, certified Reem lover.
I'm a super fan of Reem.
And he loves everything about her. I think when you were doing some season 50 pre-gaming press, you were saying if you could go back, you would keep Reem around longer. So that's maybe one change that you would make. What other things maybe would you do early in the game different, other than maybe trying to keep someone like Reem around? And then if you want and you feel comfortable, talk about your relationship with Reem on the island a little bit.
It's so funny because when I look back at my game on 38, the only thing I would change is I wouldn't give Chris that half the idol at the end game, because I think I win the game if I don't do that. But if I pretend that there wasn't an Edge of Extinction, that I would have just gone home 4th, which is what I was assuming going into 50, that there's not going to be any sort of edge or safety net for me. I was going, why did David and I get in with the cool kids who obviously had their own little cool kid thing when we could have run with the misfits? I mean, if we had gone with Reem and Wendy, Keith, not that loyal, but he would have rolled with us for a long time. But Reem and Wendy never, ever would have turned on us unless it was only down to them versus us. And I just look back at that all the time going, what would the game have been like? Because we lost every challenge anyway. So it's not like we could have lost more challenges. And I thought about that all the time of just, it's not necessarily the people that you feel the most comfortable with, because there's no doubt, like hanging out around camp, like early in the game, I felt more comfortable hanging out with War Dog and Wendy and just goofing around. There was a lot of stress around Reem, and Wendy was a lot of fun, but she'd go off on a tangent. But that's not necessarily how you should form your alliances. Form your alliances with people in the game who are going to be loyal to you a long way. Who you might feel like you're more likely to turn on them at some point than they are to you. That's a great ally to have, because maybe you never turn on them. Maybe you feel like those are the exact 2 people I want to go to the end with. But I do look back, and I'm mad at David about it because he's the experienced player. David, what are you doing? And my guess is that he had a need to get with Kelly, that he knew that if we turned on Kelly right away, that puts a bigger spotlight on him. We haven't talked about that in depth, but we have talked to each other and gone, looking back, Reem and Wendy were like the strangest, most loyal players in the entire world. We probably could have done something with that.
So getting into episode 11, Awkward, that's the episode that's airing, which very exciting. I have a couple questions about the episode itself. So during the episode, Ron Clark gives you an advantage menu that is very much expired. And you point out, like, why would he give this to me? So can you talk to me about how, like, confident you were, whether it was real, whether it was fake?
I was very suspicious from the get-go. And I was excited about it because it was the possibility of an advantage. And at that point, I had no immunity idols. I guess I had won a pair of challenges by then, but I did just not believe that he would give that to me because he lied to me like 4 times already. And if you trust me enough to give me this idol, why would you be lying to me? Why wouldn't you have worked with me up to this point? So that's why obviously it didn't stop me from looking for idols. I was still spending all day, every day trying to find an idol because I didn't trust Ron at all. And then later, you see in the episode, he asked me, hey, have you found anything? And I had already gotten the idol, and I said, no. So I did not trust Ron at all at that point. I would have had to be the biggest idiot in the world to trust Ron at that point because I had trusted him 3 other times, and he'd burned me. And I still even trusted him enough to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I voted Aurora. The others actually took Ron out with the vote. But I did not really in my heart believe that could be a real advantage.
A follow-up to that, 2 follow-ups. So you got the idol by climbing that tree in the middle of the night. Could you see anything?
Yes, I could see because the fire was right there. I mean, it's literally right over top of camp. So we're talking 8 feet from the fire, which added to the peril because everyone's sleeping right there. So I was so nervous. I took off my glasses because they might shine a glare. I took off my belt because it might shine a glare. I mean, I did my little ninja face. I was really trying to stay dark and just waiting to see them wake up. And I was so excited when I was able to get out of Dodge without getting caught.
And then at Tribal Council, so yeah, you voted for Aurora. The advantage menu is fake, so you play your idol. And so you know your vote is for Aurora. But Ron is going to end up going home instead. So can you talk to us about what were your feelings during those as the votes were being read? Did you want Aurora to go after you found out the advantage menu was fake, or what were you thinking?
When I found out the advantage menu was fake, really that speech I give where I'm like, Ron and Julie, you are villains. That was the only rehearsed speech I had in the entire game. Because even my news updates, I make a big deal out of doing those off the top of my head, like right away. So I had rehearsed that speech again because I didn't trust Ron at all. And I thought that was going to be the line in the sand. We're going to get back to the beach, and it's going to be Ron versus Devens battle. So I really wanted to make him look bad and bury him before we got to the beach and started trying to pull in our different players. I fully expected Aurora to go home. When I saw those Ron votes coming out, it was like, people think I'm trying to win over the jury, which would have been a great, take credit for it with the jury. That would have been great strategy. But no, I was just psyched. Yeah, this guy tried to screw me, and he's out of here. Eat it, Ron. And you can see Lauren trying to get credit, but the jury's like, look at Devens. But no, I was so happy to see him go at that point. And I actually started to feel bad. If I'd known he was going home, I wouldn't have gone that hard on him because he is just playing the game. It's not that big of a deal. But I thought it was the start of a Ron versus Devens war. So that's why I kind of went real in on he and Julie.
So, and I think this is correct from some of the post-game press that I've seen, but I believe you're still very close with Gavin, who was in on that Ron vote. Have you talked to him about this moment since and kind of what his plan was with using that extra vote, I think, that he had on Ron in that moment and what they were trying to do for their games?
Gavin's my best buddy. Yep, you nailed that one. I haven't talked to him too much. For the longest time, they just, dang it, Devens, that was our moment. Why you got to take all the credit for that? I'm like, Gavin, you know me. I got to take all the credit and camera time whenever I can. So I think that they were excited to get rid of either Ron or I at that point. As players, they were sick of us, And Gavin and I goof around all the time. The reason we're best friends now is because we never played together in the game. I mean, not once did we even pretend like we were going to help each other out, except when I give him the idol at the end, which we both knew he didn't really need, and I didn't need it at that point. But I think that they were just going to be really excited to get back to camp and either have Ron or I gone and not have to worry about us.
You mentioned, the camera time, and I know at the time of 38 you were a news anchor. I actually work in news too, so it's kind of funny. But do you think having the camera time be part of your profession, do you think that helped you at all going on to Survivor?
I do. I think where it really helped was in tribal council. I think a lot of people, the majority of definitely first-time Survivor players, go to tribal council and are just petrified. I don't want to say the thing that sinks my game or sinks my alliance or blows up the plan. And you see strategies that people have of like, if Jeff calls on me, I'm going to give the shortest answer possible. If Jeff calls on me, I'm going to give a metaphor that makes no sense, but I'll talk long enough that Jeff won't call on me again. Whereas I went into tribal and I was like, not intimidated. First of all, you can't really see the cameras, which is an awesome thing about tribal. They hide it so that you're immersed in that setup. But I wasn't nearly as intimidated by the fact that there are lights, by Jeff's right in front of us, because it's kind of like a studio. It's kind of like a newsroom. So when people are talking, instead of me being like, I hope he doesn't call on me, I'm listening to what they're saying. And I'm seeing this as an opportunity maybe to make a point in front of the jury. But I think when you look at season 38, more often than not, like I'm trying to sway what's happening in that moment. I'm trying for the people in the game in that moment to kind of confront them, because if you ask a good question, Jeff will get on board. He'll be like, yeah, that's interesting. Why'd you do that? And if Jeff says it, it adds power to what I'm saying. So I do think being on TV is part of the reason why I can make tribal a bigger part of my strategic game than a lot of players try to do.
So I think that we should talk about some fake idols, because that was one of the most memorable parts for me looking back on it, is your approach to utilizing the notes that you had in the past and how you're going to either make people safe with those, or maybe it's just for your own entertainment. So can you talk a little bit about how you approach that strategy and what the balance of actual game strategy versus just your own entertainment on the game was?
So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about where the fake idol thing came from because of how it played out. It played out in just a fun way. But where it came from initially was I knew at a certain point in the game that the only way I was going to get to the end, because I was such a big target, was by winning immunities or finding idols. No one was going to work with me at this point. So I said, what's my backup plan if I can't win the immunity or I can't find an idol? I need to have a fake idol for myself. But there's no way to convince people that a fake idol is a real idol. Like, how do you do that? So I said, I know what I can do. I can hide the fake idol up in the tree where I found it. And then I have this clue, which can't be faked. So if I go to tribal council, so if I have nothing, if I'm about to go to tribal, I have no safety. I know I'm going home that night. My plan was, in front of everybody in camp, I'm going to go grab this thing out of the tree that's 15 feet above camp. And then at tribal, I'll say, Jeff, I found this clue, something that can't be faked, that told me where the idol was. And now I have this idol. I'm playing tonight. That was my get out of jail free card, break glass in case of emergency. That's where it came from. But then I won immunity and I found an idol. So I didn't need it at all. So at that point I said, well, I've got two fake idols. One's hidden in that tree and one's in my pocket. So I just put the fake idol at that point. I'm like, let's have fun. So I put the clue back. I put the other fake idol somewhere. Lauren found the clue. Julie found the other fake idol. And at that point, I'm just like, let's cause as much chaos as possible, because I knew the one thing that was a weakness at Final Tribal Council would be, Rick, you made it through this stuff, but you never had control of the game. Other people were controlling the game. And I thought, if I go to this Tribal Council, I have immunity. I give Gavin immunity. Two other people think they have immunity because of me. I'm like, how can you say I'm not controlling the game? Every single thing that happens is because of me. And I'm the one sending Lauren home. And I gave Chris his half. Like, I'm the only one who knows what's going on. So that's how it kind of evolved. And it turned into, and at that point, Lauren and I were just butting heads. So when she found that idol in the tree, it was just the best thing in the world. I had a lot of fun that afternoon.
And I was going to say, for whatever it's worth, I have never laughed so hard on Survivor than watching you just experience the joy of seeing Lauren trying to jab your fake idol off of that limb. So thank you for the joy that you brought me as a fan in that moment.
Thank you. And it also, I loved that moment because it reinforced the fact that I needed to climb up in the middle of the night. Because if you're just trying to get it with a stick in the day, people will catch you getting the idols. I was like, this is good. I did it the better way.
We're almost out of time here. I had two questions left written down. coming back from the previous tribal council, you and War Dog were the two who were on the outs, and War Dog went home. So what is it like coming back to camp, being the only person who's not in on the vote?
I got to experience that a couple times. That happened with my buddy David Wright too. And I think it's one of those things that it affects different people differently. But for me, I'm not going to let them see me down. I'm just going to have the biggest smile. There's a little bit of good move, but people see right through that. They're like, oh, he's so bad. So I'm just kind of like, oh, well, there we go. Let's see what happens tomorrow. And then let it kind of fuel me. It's like, okay, well, now I have the power of myself and War Dog and David inside of me. And War Dog and David inside of me. We should have ended this a few minutes ago. Yeah. But yeah, for me, when I'm down, I'm just really trying to not let you see that. And almost to the point that I convince myself that I'm up.
And my last question I had, if we exclude 38 and 50, even though it hasn't aired yet, what is your favorite season of Survivor?
I'm such a casual, guys. Heroes versus villains. I mean, that's what I said when I went on 38, and I can't change it now. So none of the new era have knocked it off its perch. It's just such a collection of personalities, and the storylines are incredible. And they played it leading up to season 38. When we were in Ponderosa before the game, it was pouring every day. So we're all trapped in this little space and we can't talk to each other. So they just threw up DVDs of Heroes versus Villains. And we're all watching. And you remember how physical those challenges were?
Mm-hmm.
We're watching and we're looking at each other like, who am I going to have to fight? So I love that one.
So what was it like knowing like there's going to be heroes or then villains on season 50? I'm playing with them.
So cool. So cool. You go on to season 38 and you hope it's going to be a great season, but it can't be heroes versus villains because we're first time folks. Going on season 50, I'm going, oh my gosh, 38 has a growing fan base. I think it gets better as you rewatch, but it's not a favorite. I'm like, I might be on an all-time favorite season. When you look at this cast and what's led up to it, I was very excited. I still think it might be an all-time great season. But.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I have two very quick questions inspired from season 48's David that I feel the need to ask you. Okay. One, how do you like your steak prepared? And two, if there was, what is the biggest or most ferocious animal that you think you could take in a fight?
Ooh, medium well. Love milk, David, buddy.
Whole milk.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty strategic with animals. I could get my hand around a muzzle, maybe like a hyena.
Okay.
And we'd all just be laughing. I'm kind of a hyena myself, so let's go hyena.
I love that answer.
Well, Rick, we got to thank you so much for giving us your time today. This was an absolute joy. You're our favorite part of 38. You were Derek's winner pick. So we just really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. It's a genuine joy.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys for getting people psyched up for season 50.
We're pumped. We can't wait.
Yep. And as a reminder, this episode, season 38, episode 11, that's going to be airing the same day as we're releasing this episode. So go and watch that and then come listen to this podcast.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Rick. Really appreciate it.
Enjoy the Georgia weather and
can't wait for 50.
And hopefully we'll talk again someday.
Awesome. Guys, this is great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was a conversation with Rick Devens. I cannot believe it, but that was great. Again, thank you, Rick, for giving us your valuable time. This was a treat, unexpected treat.
Yeah, and Rick has disconnected. Obviously, he has bigger and better things to spend his time on than with our podcast today. But what a fun opportunity. So thank you to the listeners who have stuck with us. And thank you guys, because when we started this 6.5 years ago, we had no idea that by doing absolutely nothing other than being ourselves, that we would eventually be interviewing Rick Devens. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys. And again, big thank you to Rick and everyone involved who made this happen. Because when it came together, it kind of came together quickly. All of a sudden it was, hey, you want to interview Rick 2 days from now? And it's like, yes, let's do it.
I already had taken the day off of work for other reasons. So I'm like, okay, I guess it worked out really well.
Oh, yeah. That was a treat. I wasn't really sure how it would go. You never know once you actually talk to someone in person. It would just face to face like that. So
We've never done anything like this before.
And hopefully the listeners got a ton of insight from it. We still want it to be valuable to all the listeners. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed that, and we're able to get something from it as well.
I mean, I did. I got a bunch of insight.
Yes, and I've never fanboyed in my life, and I've bumped into some celebrities in the past. But when you care about something and you're passionate about something, it means a little bit more. So I finally understand what it's like to be one of those girls in the crowd watching the Beatles in the 1960s. I wasn't, just shrieking and shrilling, I suppose, but man, oh man, I lost my train of thought in the middle of my questions.
Inside you were.
I was screaming on the inside, so... Oh my goodness.
Well, this is also a good time to thank the listeners. Thank you for sticking with us. Now you get to listen to us talk to Rick Devens. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, because this was awesome. And thank you for riding with us through these 6.5 years, whenever you joined.
Yeah, like they said, we were contacted about this. However they ended up finding that had a lot to do with the listeners as well, just because it might have been in podcast rankings, or if they're searching for Survivor podcasts, or someone to talk about strategy, whatever it might be, you guys sharing it with other people, liking the podcast, rating it, all these things that we have begged for across the years really does help not only grow the audience, but get us in front of people who can potentially connect us with castaways, and be able to give you guys even more and better content. So thank you very much.
Yeah, anyone who's ever given us a review or a rating or a comment or mentioned us, even just like a Reddit thread, you helped make this happen, so thank you.
And a good reminder for the person who actually connected us with Rick, I want to make sure that we do promote that the episode airing the night that this is dropping into your queue, this is February 17th, is going to be season 38, episode 11, Awkward. Please do tune into that, because, again, there's a lot of Survivor, and if you're trying to get caught up on everything cool that every season 50 contestant has done, I'm not even so sure if you started it today, you'd have enough time to get through all those seasons before season 50 premieres on February 25th, which, of course, if you're listening to us, we all know that you're tuning in for that Christopher Nolan-esque 3-hour premiere. We'll be here covering that, and maybe in the future talking to more people like Rick Devens. So tune in tonight to that episode Awkward, and tune in to the premiere of season 50 on February 25th.
Yeah, it really was a fun episode to go back and rewatch. We haven't gone and covered Edge of Extinction yet in our rewind, but that will be coming, who knows, in a year or so.
Within a year, I'd say.
So, we'll really be diving in deep once that ends up happening. But, go off, watch this episode, and it's a fun one.
Apologies to the listeners, out of order, and we might even need to drop in a spoiler tag just because for rewind stuff, because we never said spoiler alert for season 38. We've never covered it, but maybe the listeners can forgive us this time.
I think if we're interviewing a former player, there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
If you get upset about this one, by all means, be upset. Not gonna apologize.
Yeah, respectfully, we love you. We don't care.
Not this time. Well, I think that wraps this one up. This was awesome, guys. Thank you all once again. Derek, Josh, the listeners, Rick, everyone who made this happen, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was really, really, really cool. Anything else, guys?
Until next time.
See you guys for the Survivor 50 premiere.
Yeah, buddy. Mr. Beast, let's go. You know what? It is kind of funny. This has gotten me more excited for season 50 than anything in that trailer.
Nothing could have gotten me more hyped for season 50 than talking to an actual contestant. So.
Yeah, true. All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got hopefully more to come.
Good night.